And yet again, we are back for episode 12. Welcome back, everybody. It's the Post Podium Podcast where we are all truth, no sodium. I am your co-host, Aramis.
Yo, we haven't been canceled yet? Wow, episode 12.
They can't
we doing
cancel
good.
us, baby.
You can't kill what won't die.
That's right.
Hey,
that's exactly
but I'm
right.
Key, and where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Let's get it. All right. So to start the show, we started last week with a new segment, and we're going to name the segment Stuff We Heard. I mean, that's what it is. We pick this stuff up as we go, and, we put it on the show. So let's get to it, man. What do we got first?
All right, the first thing I want to talk about, you know what? I'm actually mad. I'm salty. I'm very salty. Usually I don't get salty about things that don't matter, but today is a different day. Maybe
I can't
I'm
be
tired.
advertising no salt and you just
You
coming
can't,
in here
but
with
I'm
all the
salty.
sodium.
But you ain't got no salt. I got salt.
Okay.
Colin Cowherd, TJ Hujmanzada, when the Stephon Diggs issue came about, said, I don't think the Bills will win a division. He said they've been good for a while and they just haven't gotten over the hump. Now you had a Stephon Diggs situation with Josh Allen, and they're going to try and force him the ball. When you try and force him the ball, bad things happen. And if he's not getting the ball, he's going to act a fool. He's showing you that. Now, I think that was boneheaded, but
yeah,
Mr. Jason McIntyre, I had to, you know what?
He's a Jets fan, man.
It was mental face punching time, because what he said was, don't you have to be a little bit of a punk to deal with a punk, in terms of talking about when Hujmanzada said he said of Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, his personality, he can handle this. He's not a punk. So Josh Allen's not a punk, but he's insinuating, by the way Josh Allen has handled the press conferences when asked about Stephon Diggs, that maybe Stephon Diggs is a punk. And I'm like, what? You, Sir Jason McIntyre, shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. You don't want these problems. Bills Mafia, Bills Nation, Bills fans everywhere. This can't happen. I don't care what side of the fence you sit on. We got to come together and stop this foolishness from happening, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's tough. Like, and as emotional about this as I want to get, the second we start lashing out at this dude, we going to look like what people think we are. And that's the hardest part about it is and I think this goes back to why we've been so hard on the team on this show, because the representation that we have looks like it does. And that causes us to have to now try and come to the defense of our team, when really a lot of stuff that's happening shouldn't be defensible.
Right. But what you can do is not bash your own people too. You got to show unity, because you look at social media, you look at things that are written when this Stephon Diggs thing went down. It was our own people. It was our own people that was speaking bad. Get him out of here. He doesn't want to be here. Don't do that.
Yeah, I get it.
Don't do that.
There's a line. I understand.
So Jason McIntyre is a nobody to me, and I'm a nobody to him. But boy, that's fine.
You wasn't lying. You salty, boy.
That's fine. He's a nobody. I didn't even know who he was. So you said something when the Deion Dawkins part last week.
He would say he's only been on the Colin Cowherd show for 7 years. He owns part of a soccer team down in Mexico. And
yes, soccer in Mexico. Go deal with that team. Go deal with that team and your Jets. Go deal with them. Because you, sir, you're salty.
Yeah, I get it. But again, he's a Jets fan. He's a Jets fan.
Well, we gave him credit last week. So Jets, handle your guy. Handle your fellow Jets fans.
Wait, we gave him credit last week?
The Jets fans? Or the Jets themselves?
We gave the Jets themselves credit.
Well, yeah. I gave the organization marginal credit. So I gave him respect.
That's what you do when you have a defensive minded head coach. You gotta
oh man, I can't wait to get in. I can't wait to get into some of the thoughts that I got on press conference and stuff. But that'll go later. Just a little teaser.
Right, next topic.
Let's see. Bills signings. You got Jay Sternberger.
I like it.
Now, honestly, I did like Jay Sternberger coming out of Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. So that was the year Dawson Knox came out. And
who originally drafted him?
Green Bay.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So you're talking about 6'4", 251 pounds. Ran a 4.7. He's athletic. I mean, he's a lot like Dawson Knox. I mean, he's not as fast, but he's bigger.
How's his blocking?
He's. I think that's more so what he did.
Yeah,
that's more so.
Saying, you don't sign a guy this late,
right? That's more so what he did, and that's fine. Because you got Dawson, you got Dalton Kincaid in the first round, you got Dawson Knox in the fourth round. So, you got a guy coming in who was drafted in the third round himself. So it didn't work out. You got to make the team. They said he stood out from day one. So welcome aboard, Jay Sternberger.
Okay, all right.
Now, this is where it gets kind of murky to me. I'm trying to figure this out. Obviously in the wake of Nyheim Hines, Darrington Evans, and Andy Isabella as well. We'll talk about both of them in the same breath here.
Do you have numbers on both of those guys?
In terms of
contract?
No, I don't have those yet. I don't even know if they were released yet. But you're looking at Darrington Evans, who is at the combine 5'11", 5'10", 203 pounds, ran a 4.41. Very shifty. He was regarded as a return specialist from Appalachian State.
Okay.
Now, I remember when he was drafted, I really was interested in him as well. I mean, it seems like I'm interested in everybody, but if you notice the trend when I say that, if you look at the years they came out, you can kind of look at what I was looking and hoping we were going to draft when we, in those respective years.
Okay.
So 2020, third round pick to Tennessee. He returned kicks for that ball club. Obviously, he's not going to get a lot of rushes, and you're not going to get a lot of balls thrown to you in that offense. So, welcome aboard, Darrington Evans, a guy you like.
Can I just say something about Evans real quick? Is it shocking that we talked about this earlier in the offseason about how Hines was a $4 million kick returner, essentially.
Yeah.
And he goes down for the season. You don't sign another real running back. You sign a guy who's more so known for kick returning.
Oh, we were going to come full circle on this. Okay. I had more. That's why I was kind of rushing through the Andy Isabella.
All right.
Because I did want to park on that for a little bit.
Okay. We'll swing back to it. Let's go to Andy Isabella.
Well, Andy Isabella, 2019 second round draft pick for Arizona Cardinals. He was listed at 5'9", 188 pounds, ran a 4.31 40. So you're looking at your 20-yard shuttles, your 3-cone drills, and you think, like we were talking before the show, the shifty factor. Andy Isabella is a straight line speed guy, where Darrington was more of he reminds me of kind of a skill set of LaShawn McCoy. I'm not saying that he's him. I'm not saying don't get me to say that, but I think he's one of those guys that's more quick than fast. So even though he runs a 4.41, you'll see on the field if he does make the 53. And I just noticed he had 20 on the bench too at 5'10", 203. That's not bad. So,
or he could have just been practicing.
Yeah.
I mean, he may never do 20 reps ever again.
I mean, that's still pretty good. The most I ever did was 31. So that's really good, and I'm pretty big compared to this guy here.
Nice way to brag on the show.
I had to throw a little shameless plug in, but that was years and years ago. Don't challenge me now. That was years ago.
That was gonna be my next step. Let's see you do it now.
No, it would be who's the guy that did it at the combine with the fake weights? Schefter, remember?
Was it Schefter that put was it 315 on the bar or 250, whatever it was, 225, and he repped it out ridiculously. But then they just picked it up and just showed you it was fake. So I mean, it was funny. You have to look if you can find it, look it up. They show it on the combine every year. I'll check it out.
But going back to your point about Nyheim Hines, now we can park on where you were with it. And I had the same thoughts, and that's kind of why I'm bringing this up. What exactly is going on? Let's throw this in there too. Who'd you sign in the offseason?
Damian Harris.
Huh?
Damian Harris.
No. There's one name. The name is from New Orleans.
Oh, Hardy.
You signed Deontay Hardy. Yeah. You signed Andy Isabella. You signed Darrington Evans. Who's returning kicks? They just implemented a rule this year that says that if you field the ball within the 20 or 25 yard line, you can call a fair catch and get the ball at touchback. So
wow,
they did this in college already, and I remember people didn't understand it and they lost their mind until they really saw it a couple of times. But yeah, you don't have to catch the ball in the end zone anymore. So that further reduces the need to have special teams players, which we're going to get into as well when we get into the training camp. We will get the training camp this week, I promise, because it's been burning a hole in my head and we can't pull it off. You can't hide that too much longer.
Maybe.
But to your point, yeah, I do know what you're going to say, and I'm 100% on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, it does. When you consider how the landscape for running backs, has kind of diminished over the years and where it is now, and even with what they promised in terms of usage for Hines, it didn't ever seem last year like they made a concerted effort to really get him the ball.
Right.
He wasn't the running game in particular wasn't a priority for the offense.
Right.
But more so when you're paying a guy $4 million, and when you get a chance, can you just pull up how much James Cook is making? James Cook is making on his rookie contract. Mm-hmm. The money oftentimes should dictate the position on the depth chart, in my mind, when we're thinking about proper spending and proper asset allocation.
Right. There you
go. So he's making how much per year?
This year's cap hit is 1.3.
Oh, 1.3 million. Okay, so I mean peanuts. But to your point, let's take it a step further. I'm not going to park on it too long, but. Mm-hmm. Naeem Hines, you said getting him the ball, but they didn't even make a concerted effort to get him on the field. Right.
So you're paying that, and I think I'm almost inclined to lean towards expecting the same from Deontay Hardy, even though they're speaking him up to be in line for the slot position. And that's $5 million, right? That's $9 million for players. Well, obviously, with Hines, you can, if you wanted to, void his contract because he was injured off doing non-football activities. But if they don't, that's $9 million in returner. Basically. Right.
Here's the other thing that I don't think people are taking into consideration when it comes to Deontay Hardy. When I really looked into, him coming from New Orleans and what they did with him there, I was kind of excited because I started thinking in terms of, Dayball's offense, mm-hmm. the different ways that they can use him to get him open and get him in space and all that kind of stuff, right? I've been really meditating on that lately, and it's kind of come to a roost at this point. How often did we really hear Deontay Harris or Deontay Hardy pop in New Orleans?
Yeah, honestly, I'd never heard of him.
Exactly. Never heard of him. Unless you were watching their games religiously,
right.
And I've seen a few of their games where they used him. He great kick returner.
I mean, he looks good.
You get the guy in space. He's a burner. He can make people miss, all that kind of stuff, right? But here's the thing. The Saints let him go.
Right.
Okay? We're talking about a team that last year had no receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once Olave went down. Yeah. None. Right? And this year, who knows if Michael Thomas is playing?
Right.
Okay. And then Chris Olave is their number one. Who else did they? Is that? Oh, this is all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is this: if the Saints, who really don't have a great receiver room, let a weapon like this go, and for the most part, they've been pretty good at using creative pieces like that. Right, their offense was able to implement, the use of who's the quarterback they got there that you like, the guy that does everything. What's his name?
Oh, you're talking about
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill.
They got Taysom Hill there. They find amazing ways to use this guy to run for touchdowns, throw for touchdowns, and all these gadget plays and stuff like that. And then they let Deontay Hardy go, who's another asset in that type of style of play.
I have it up for you now. This is a 2022 wide receiver room.
Yeah, so Jarvis Landry is probably going to be their slot guy. If Michael Thomas actually plays, he should be their number one. Traquan Smith has been, to this point, for the most part, a disappointment. Marquez Callaway, he's a guy that, so far, he'll pop from time to time, mm-hmm. But not consistent.
More of a specialist, yeah.
Right. And the other guys are, either camp guys or bench guys, right? So
I'm actually surprised you knew so much about the guys you just went through. That's pretty good. Get this man a hand clap.
I'll pat myself on the back later. But yeah, so you're looking at their room and you're saying, man, they could use a guy like Hardy in there, right?
Yeah.
Why don't they keep him?
Yeah.
How much was he making last year? 2 million, 2.5. That's where he had him at.
I was just about to pull it up. Let's see. No, it's not here.
So
he made. Well, he earned 3.9 mil last year.
Okay, with a restructure bonus. So
wow.
So he made 3.9. We're paying him what, 4 and some change?
Yeah, almost 5.
Okay. For where if you could pull up the wide receiver deal again.
Actually, no. He's making 5.5 for us this year.
5.5.
Yeah, his earnings 5.5 this year, 3.9 next year.
Right. So now here's the thing. When I looked at that number, 5.5, I said, you sign a guy for 5.5, that's your slot guy. It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be. For that amount of money.
Yeah. 100%.
You're going to pay.
100%.
But when you look at what they've done with Hines, he was making $4 million.
Yeah.
Never saw the field unless he was returning kicks.
Mm-mm.
So, and again, we keep like what we've done on this show is we've essentially gotten down to, excuse me, the root issues that ail the team.
Right.
And so a lot of times now, what's beginning to happen with our conversations is we end up coming back to those root issues because we've kind of figured it out already.
Let's just call this show Trades, Drafts, and Free Agency.
Right.
That's the name of the show, Trades, Draft, Free Agency.
I like it. That's what we'll name it. I'll mark it down. So when we're talking about the how this basically culminates to what the root issue is, it's poor asset allocation.
Yeah.
You sign a guy for almost $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he's your backup to your number 2 receiver. I think on the depth chart I have here on
I don't doubt it, but
on our lads.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah,
I'm sorry. He's backing up Stephon Diggs right now. So he's your backup. That Diggs is what, the X?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's your backup X. Right now, I'm sure from what I've seen, his route running is decent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
It's he's decent, but this for almost $6 million, this guy should be your starting slot receiver. Like, why are you? Hold on, let me see if they got Trent Sherfield's contract stuff up here. Can you?
He's up. I don't have it up, but
okay. He
is up there. And while you're doing, I'm looking at. I mean, I was just kind of looking to try to make headway with regards to the Deontay Hardy money. And I was looking at his last year performance. He only had 2 catches. So, I mean, maybe I'm not saying that I know he was hurt. So I'm not saying that he's a bust or he's not good. I'm just saying that coming off of a 2-catch season, well, I think you had a calf or a foot or something like that. And I struggle with giving him that much money off the bat. Like, I could see if it was backloaded, if it was highly incentive laden or something like that. But I'm curious to know what other teams were going to give him that kind of money.
Exactly. Like, you're starting, according to the depth chart that we're seeing. Again, this is on our lads. They have Sherfield as the starting slot receiver.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Okay, Deontay Hardy is backing up Diggs right now. Now, if that's the case, you got a backup making almost $6 million and a starter making 1.7.
Right.
Both of those guys you signed this year.
Right. Yep.
Right? Now, what is how long is Hardy's contract for?
2 years.
2 years? Okay. Yeah. So it's and he's going to be making what, 3.9 next year or something like that, I think it was.
Yeah, 3.9 next year.
Right. So the way you've structured the contract, he's going to have, or he should have, according to his number, he should have a bigger impact this year than what you plan for him next year.
Right.
I mean, 3.9. They probably made that pretty easy to cut him. What's his dead cap?
Yeah, his dead cap 1.3.
Oh yeah, you can cut him easily next year, right? So it's essentially a 1 year deal if I'm looking at that as
that's about right.
Right. So again, you give one guy 1 year 5.5 and you give another guy 1 year 1.7. You start the guy who's 1 year 1.7. What does this look like? It looks like
this is their MO though. This is what they do.
Right.
This is what they do.
Right. It looks like you've got a head coach that continues to run the team like a college team. Well, I want to give the best guy a shot. Okay, well, what you gonna do with the $5.5 million?
Yeah. And you know what? This is I want to stay here, but you're compelling me to pull up a quote from McDermott in terms of, oh God, where's my stuff? In terms of
what you need,
right here.
Okay.
How he views constructing a team. Okay, so McDermott says this. He says sometimes it's not about the talent on the field. Instead, it's about the fit. No, coach. No. It's about the talent.
Right.
It's about your ability to take the talent and fit it together, and make a puzzle. It's 100% about the talent. Now, I don't have to have Tyreek Hill and Deontay Adams and we'll say Patrick Mahomes. I don't have to. But you're not going to tell me that I can take Taysom Hill and give me two other wide receivers. I don't know, Robert Woods and somebody else. So just somebody on that level and make them as equivalent. I can't. No, sometimes, like I said, some pieces won't fit together. Okay, some pieces just don't go.
Right.
But you're not going to sit here and tell me that you can take a team that fits well and beat a team full of talent. You can't do it.
I mean, they haven't been able to do it with the Chiefs or the Bengals.
They haven't. And the thing is, the talent is the ability to fit more into one scenario. So if I can get superior players, maybe not the top dogs, but superior players to fit together in any scenario, I'm going to win.
Right.
I'm going to win. And Benny McDermott, they always fall in love with interviews, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about this while you were talking about Sherfields and Hardys, and even what really got me thinking about this last night when I was driving home was Ed Oliver. His combiner, if you watch the footage, they were in love with him. You could tell they were smiling. They just were hanging on every word. I forget. You heard
all the same stuff about Kyrie.
That's where I'm going. See, they said. I remember the question that they showed was, so Ed, you're from Houston. It's cold in Buffalo. And Ed said, "Yeah, I got jackets, don't y'all?" And they loved it. The room bust out laughing. Dude, the room bust out laughing. They didn't think he's a 6'1", 275-pound defensive tackle when we have no one tech.
Right.
They didn't think about putting the guy in the best situation to succeed. He fits what we want. Now you go to Kaiir Elam. He brings out a composition notebook.
Yep.
He brings his notebook. He's got stuff scribbled in it. It's beautiful. We love it. I mean, he showed that they all passed around. They were reading it. They were into it. Right. And at that point, they knew they wanted him. They knew that's who they were going to get if he fell to them. And they were going to, and obviously that was proof positive by the fact that they moved in the draft to get to him.
Right.
So I say this to say, and to go back to your point, you have to at some point get to the best player you can. And he might not be the guy you love the most. He might not be the guy that made you smile the most, but he's the guy that's going to get your trophy. Right. You don't have to get an ex-con. You don't have to get somebody that's going to be divisive in the locker room, but you have to get people that have distinct talents. Stephon Diggses, Josh Allen's, Von Miller's. That's why when Von Miller's 32 years old, you guys are clamoring all over the guy because we've never seen this before.
Right.
So you're telling me somebody like Von Miller's never been available to us, or is it that we just haven't identified him? That's the thing I want to get to. Have we identified the best player at each position that we picked when we pick them? And to this point, I say no.
Bro. Okay. I want to say this, and I want your honest opinion. Mm-hmm. So I'll just ask you. Does what we're seeing now indicate an overestimation of ability by Sean McDermott? Because, and I'll just explain the question. when you're saying things like it's not about talent and your ability to make it. Wait, how does he say it?
It's not about talent on the field. Instead, it's about the fit.
It's about the fit, right? When you say stuff like that, the inference is, I can, as long as we fit, I can get everybody to do what's needed to win.
Yep. I want to. Yeah. This to me, this is the embodiment of everything we thought. In terms of, he wants to be a sum of the parts team. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be dominant in one specific thing. Josh Allen, you stumbled upon. Stephon Diggs, you stumbled upon.
Yep.
Von Miller, you bought. But outside of that, you haven't developed anybody to be elite. There's not one player on this team besides the aforementioned names that are elite.
Right.
And not one of them besides Josh Allen did you draft. And not one of them besides Josh Allen did we watch get better as he came along with McDermott. Even Trey White. Trey White came in, he was good, but he was always pretty consistent. You know, you never saw him like just explode. Right. He was always he always did what he did well. He read the ball. He was in your pocket. Mm-hmm. But you never saw him. And Buffalo will say he was a top 3 guy. I never got it. No. I'm not saying he wasn't top 10, maybe even top 5, maybe, but he's not top 3, and I don't think he ever was. Now we're talking about, let's get rid of him because is he going to return to form? Like we talked about this already. Return to form.
Even if he did,
he's still the same top. He's not top 3.
Exactly.
But my thing is, if you look at, like we talked about, return to form, but why are we having this conversation? Why is it that we don't have a number 2 cornerback right now? Why is it? And I'm glad that you brought up about Trent Sherfield and Hardy in the play when you said, why are you paying this $1.7 million player to start when you got a $5.5 million player on the bench? Mm-hmm. That's the MO of the team through drafts, especially drafts. That's what they do. They use high draft picks as backups and prove. If anybody wants to debate it, just do the research.
Right.
Kyrie Irving's fighting for his life right now when he shouldn't be.
Right.
You're in training camp. Who cares if you miss a rep? This is when you're supposed to do it.
Right.
If he's as good as if he makes corrections as he says he has, let him make a mistake. Let him go work on it.
You know what that's like? That's like if I was a CEO of a company, right?
Right.
And I believe so strongly in this, self-taught, we'll just say software designer, right? I believe so much in this self-taught software designer that I'm going to bring him on and I'm going to make him the head of that division.
Right.
Right? Now, this dude knows nothing about the corporate world. This dude knows nothing about, communicating with people in that realm, right? But I believe so strongly in his ability to do that one thing that I'm going to bring him on and I'm going to pay him, $1 million.
Right.
Right? And then I say to myself, okay, I'm happy with this. This, I got this guy that was, he came from nothing. He worked his way up and now he's here. Right. And meanwhile, there's this other applicant that I have who has been dominating in that software design world for years. Right. And I say to myself, yeah, but I don't think he would fit here.
Right.
I'm not gonna hire that dude. I'm gonna still trust this underdog here to figure it out, to get it worked out, right. to become what I think he can become, so that he can match that other applicant that I have that's been dominating in the field for years. Right.
Yeah.
Now, the point of all this is to say that Sean McDermott has not yet shown, and we've talked about this before, but he hasn't yet shown a clear vision through his moves to show us where he's trying to take the team.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at the depth chart, the depth chart here, they're still going to be running a nickel defense, which to me is just it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And
we're still going to be running this.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I almost.
You almost said it.
I almost.
No, but to take it further, and I do like this in one regard. I like the fact that when we get into the day's training camp, the meat of it. Obviously, we have started talking about it, today in itself. But the meat of the training camp conversations I want to talk about. It's funny how they talk about having off-ball linebackers. They don't think they have a need for a traditional middle linebacker, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But what does that tell me? That tells me that they need to do something with that defensive tackle. Because if you have, they boost up Poona Ford, but if you have two undersized linebackers running around, you're sacrificing the ability to block shed, to stack. You're sacrificing the ability to get your nose in there in the run game. Right. So if you got an Ed Oliver out there, you got to a lesser extent Jordan Phillips, that kind of player out there, you're really risking getting that linebacker caught up in the muck. So you got to figure out which one you want to live with. Do you want your linebacker swallowed up, or do you want maybe not to get the pass rush from the middle? Right. Me personally, being traditional in the sense, I'd rather have the 2-1 text or somebody clogging that space so your off-ball linebackers can work. Right. And what's going to happen to people that don't really think this through, they're going to say, oh, well, Terrell Bernard or Matt Milano or Balin Spector or Dorian Williams or Terrell Dodson, they're not doing their job. But in order to do my job, I can't do this here without this microphone. I can't do this here without this computer screen. And that's essentially what you're asking them to do when you're not giving them the pieces that they need to do what they've been drafted and brought in to do.
Right. Right. And, here's the other thing, too. Just real quick with that point. The numbers don't match up when you play that style of defense against any offensive line. Right. You're essentially asking 4 guys to dominate 5 guys and allow your linebacker to have some space to get in there and tackle the running back before they get past the line of scrimmage. Right. I mean, essentially, in the perfect world, that's the way that a defensive coordinator is trying to structure that nickel defense in terms of stopping the run. Right. You want your 4 guys up front to be the reason that the running back doesn't have space to get anywhere. Yep. Okay? Now, the inverse of that for the offensive line, listen, we put 2 guys on 1 guy, move him out the way, and then we trust our other guard to push 1 guy out of the way, or to at least get him, somewhat stopped for a second. It's only for a split second, just enough for our running back to get past him, because we know that their little linebacker not going to be in position to make the play. Right. All we got to do is make the linebacker think, make him take 1 step in the wrong direction, and then get those 2 guys in the middle blocked, and we're set. We can run through this. We can run right through the middle of this thing as many times as we want. And that's what teams have done. Yeah. And if they're not doing that, they're taking advantage of the speed disparity on our defense and running to the edge. Yeah. Because we don't have the speed to get there. Like, Milano is a good player. He's not the fastest in the world.
No. And he's not the best tackler.
Right. Yeah. So now you're what? You're asking Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer to, make sure that they take care of that too?
Yeah, DeMar Hamlin's and Jaquan Johnson's last year.
And you wonder why they get hurt, because they got to come up and they got to try to blow up guys to make sure that they make the play. Yep. They got to try to blow up whoever that blocker is to get to the guy running the ball. Yep. Like, you're putting these players in positions that they shouldn't be. Yeah. You're not doing things to help accentuate what these players do the
what got
best
them to this point. Yeah, what got them to this point, exactly. And that's the thing, you're in this kind of defense, you kind of want to showcase your linebackers, right? Right. So that's where the money should have gone, because 100%. This is linebacker centric. 100%. So you brought in, Von Millers, who I've gone through this a million times. You got $20 million in the defensive end. That's fine, but your defense is predicated on your nickel cornerback and your 2 linebackers. Yep. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but in essence, that money for Von Miller should have went to Tremaine Edmonds. And like I said, I can't believe I'm going to say this, so I'm not going to argue with you. I know but when you think about, you know how I felt. You know how I felt about it. But in essence, if you're building this kind of defense, that's your money should go towards a Roquan Smith or a Tremaine Edmonds or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the inverse, play a freaking 4-3 defense and put your money in Von Miller.
Exactly.
I mean, do one of the two.
Exactly. So, I think as we digress from this rant, Sean McDermott, the quote, it's to me it's just another stain. It's another stain. It's another indication of the mentality that we're going to the cap is going to continue to pay for his decisions.
Yep.
And people who are looking at what other teams around the league are doing, and how those teams are spending their money and spending their draft picks and building a team that they're doing it in a way that allows you to clearly see what the vision is for that team. Detroit is going to be dangerous this year. Mm-hmm. You look at what Atlanta's got now in their backfield. That's something that they didn't really have, was a solid run game, and now with that Arthur Smith's offensive system, they got a guy in the backfield that they teams are going to have to fear now. Right. And when you have that guy for that offense specifically, that opens things up for Drake London. That opens things up for Pitts, the tight end, and it simplifies things for the two quarterbacks that they have in that system too. Because now it's for all intents and purposes, it's a one read system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So. The point I'm coming to here is, I mean, Sean is not the dude. He's not the dude, and I think I'm just tired of it. I think I'm just really tired of it. I'm tired of looking at all these decisions and thinking to myself, I wouldn't have done that, or this other team across the way is not doing that, and they're winning Super Bowls, and they're winning playoff games, and they're getting to the AFC Championship. I mean, heck, Zach Taylor has been the coach of that team for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And he's gotten to a Super Bowl already. He's already beaten the Chiefs to get there. Yep. And right, he did in 5 years what Sean hasn't been able to do in 6 years.
Right, and see, the thing is, I'm not saying that. See, you're ready to move on, and I can see it, but I also could see a world where we could get there with Sean changing his mentality. And we talked about it last week in terms of hiring people that might take the shine away from you, that might not go in line with you. I could see it, but he's not going to do it. See, that's the difference.
It would literally take Pagula going and sitting down with him and telling him what needs to be done.
Right.
And Pagula has already stated this is Sean's show.
Well, I mean,
so that's not going to happen.
Well, the thing with that, with regards to the Sean show thing, I mean, that management team, and now Pagula is more hands-on with the team. They said he's going to be more hands-on this year too than ever.
But that's from
that's for more of a marketing
that's
standpoint.
A hope.
But
yeah, that was my hope too. Is now he's the president of the team. Now that means he's going to be more involved. Yeah, but
that wasn't my hope because he doesn't know football. See, that's the
I don't
thing.
need him to know football.
No, I do.
I need him.
I do. I need why? Because if you don't know football, you're going to think that what Sean's doing is the right thing to do because you don't know any better.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. See, it's as simple as things that appeal to common sense, right?
Right.
If I know nothing about football, let's just say for all intents and purposes, I don't know a thing about how football is played. Mm-hmm. I can instantly take a look around the league and take a look at the numbers and more specifically the records, right? Mm-hmm. I can take a look at every team's record and I can see how good they are. This team has only lost one game. Why have they only lost one game? Let me watch them and find out.
Yeah, but if you don't know what you're watching, if you don't know what you're watching, though,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can watch the games and see why one team is better than the other. I can see matter of fact, let me back up a step. I don't even need to see why one team is better than the other. I can just watch the game and tell, man, that team is better than this one.
Well, yeah, you could do
right?
that, but
Okay.
I couldn't tell you why Arsenal's better than Manchester United.
I don't need to do that.
But that's what I'm essentially asking. What I'm saying in terms of if Pagula's going to do that, I don't want somebody, because this is the guy that said that Rex Ryan was the hire. This is the guy that said that he liked Sean McDermott over whoever else is there. So in terms
Pagula,
of Pagula, Doug Whaley
Pagula hired Rex?
Yeah, that was him.
No.
Yes, that was him.
Pagula didn't hire Rex. That was Buddy Nix.
Who's the owner though? Pagula, no, Buddy Nix did not want. They wanted somebody else. They wanted the guy from Cincinnati. What's the guy? Because remember the guy said he was going to keep the defensive coordinator. I forgot his name. And Pagula wanted Rex because he loved him in the interview. Doug Whaley and Buddy Nix did not want to hire Rex. They wanted somebody. They wanted the other guy. What is his name? I have his face. I just don't know his
Marvin
name.
Lewis?
Yeah, no. You go ahead with your thought, because I mean, there's merit in what you're saying. For me, because I want a football guy. I want a guy that can go toe to toe.
No, don't get me wrong. Like, I want that too.
Right.
But what I'm saying is the owner is not that. He's not,
and that's why I don't want him to do it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I want a football guy, like when they say they want that football guy to come in and help out with the GM.
Yeah,
and that's what I want. I don't want Pagula to do it. I want him to pay for somebody to do it.
Okay. I can make a case for why you don't really need to have a football guy. You just need to have common sense, right? Mm-hmm. If common sense tells me that there's a team in the league that only lost one game, that should tell me they're a better team than another team that has only won, 2 games and they've lost 5.
It wasn't Marvin Lewis, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much I would have loved that decision.
No.
I
only liked him because he said he was going to keep who was the defense? Schwartz.
Oh yeah. I guess I would have liked that. I mean, Jim Schwartz was really good. But if I can clearly see, based on the numbers and just watching a game, that one team is clearly better than the other, right? Eventually, if I start watching enough games, I'll start seeing what teams are better than most of the other teams in the league, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now Pagula's owned the team for how long?
He had Marone. No, Marone left. So what is this? What year is this for McDermott? 7. So 9 years.
Okay, so he's had the team for almost a decade, right? If I watched the NFL for almost a decade, by this point in the game,
right?
I know. Common sense has taught me enough to understand what teams are doing what. I'm watching the news. I'm listening to analysis and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, to this point, I should have some degree of knowledge that tells me, okay, these two teams at the top of the AFC are doing this. We're doing something different. Why? I
think we're kind of in the same spot, because to me, I would consider that a football guy at that point, because you can dissect what's happening on the field. You can dissect what other teams are doing.
How is that not common sense though? Like, it doesn't have to be a football guy. It just has to be someone who's paying attention.
Well, it's just not that simple in my mind, because if I asked you to come to my job and figure out why, I don't know how to say it without giving away what I do, but trying to figure out the metrics and why we're not hitting metrics. Okay. And I don't give you any background story, and I say, here, help me figure it out. You're gonna have to do all this research and all this, and now you're becoming what I do guy, because you know what you're looking at now. You're looking at the numbers. You're looking at what we failed at. You're looking at what other places have done and where we need to get better. So now you're investing yourself. And for me, thinking about Pagula, I'm thinking he's still the Bills owner, but a hockey guy. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, if you say Pagula, what is the name of the stadium in I don't know, let's say Los Angeles. What's the name of the stadium? I don't even know if he knows. And I mean, he might. But my thing is, if I'm going to rest my $1 billion industry on
Okay, I get that.
That's where the football guy, for me, comes in.
Right, but your point puts the owner in a position to have to be the one fixing the problem. And I'm saying the owner doesn't have to be the one fixing the problem. That's why I'm saying it can just be common sense, because as the owner, I can tell other people to go find a football guy. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
I would prefer if Pegula had a mind to say, Sean's not it. We need to go find a football guy to help us do what Andy Reid's doing, or to help us do what Zach Taylor's doing, or to help us do what Sean McVay's doing.
Yep.
Right? So that's all I'm saying.
Now we're there, yeah.
But I think 9 years of owning a team, you have to be objective enough at some point to say, look, we've tried doing this the Buffalo way and getting people that appeal to Buffalo, and and it's just not working.
Right.
It's not working. We need to bring someone else in here who may not be, the most appealing hire to the city, but damn, this dude knows his stuff about football, man. He can draw up plays. He can build up young players and take the draft picks that we have and instantly make them great.
Okay,
Josh McDaniels, Zach Taylor,
to hurt me,
Sean McVay.
That's exactly
Kyle
how
Shanahan.
They described McDermott when we hired him.
Wait, what?
That's what you just said. Exactly how they hired. What they said about McDermott when they hired him.
That he can
He's
take
not
young
the most
players.
Appealing guy. But he's a leader of men.
Oh no, that's crap. That's crap. That's crap.
But that's what they said. So,
even if they did say that,
so that's even better. That feeds. So now your football, your owner couldn't even identify the fact that you're not even picking a person that embodies what you're looking for.
Well, you have to understand what they came off of, though. They came off of Rex Ryan, who's basically acting like a child here.
Right.
And so now if I'm trying to not lose season ticket sales and all that kind of stuff, I have to make the political move, which is, okay, we realize we were wrong with the Rex Ryan move. We got someone up here now who's mature, good leader of men. You know what I mean? Like it's more of a political move than it is a football move.
Is the guy that Pegula is. Pegula is the money guy. He can tell you how to make some money. He can tell you how to make some money. He can, and that's what I'm worried about in terms of this team getting better with him being more intrusive, because you look at what he's doing, and the only way you can hurt his sales is if the team stops making the playoffs and if people stop going, and then he'll pay attention. Because right now I'm making the money I wanted to make, because that's what I know. My bottom line, he can probably read a spread. He could probably tell you about stocks. Yeah. He can tell you about anything. Yeah. And I want the guy that can do that to translate that zest, that knowledge, that background into football. To be able to say, okay, Sean, let's sit down. Why are you doing that? You might be right. I don't need a guy to come and say, Sean, shut up. This is what we're doing. You do, but I don't.
100%.
But I want to come in. I want somebody at least come in and say, you know what? All right, you guys have made the conference finals here. You made the divisionals here. You missed it there. You drafted here. You missed this pick here. Now let's talk about what we could have done, where we could have looked differently.
Right.
And like you said, we're not going to get into the draft picks. But when we talked offline, I think last week when I showed you the thing I built, the Bills don't even go into Power 10 teams. They don't get players from Power 10 teams.
Yep.
Whereas guys are going heavy to Alabamas and Georgias and Ohio States and the Clemsons.
Yep.
We're going to Oregon States. We're going to Pac-12 teams. We're going to what was it, Big 8 now or whatever it is. We're going to more the lower levels, we'll say, MAC teams,
right.
Undrafteds, Pittsburghs, and that's just not going to win you games when you're talking about talent versus fit.
Sean wants to go to war with guys who have only ever been, enlisted on base, never actually seen any shots or anything like that. Mm-hmm. He don't want to take the hardened veterans that been in wars and right. lived through some things. He wants the newbies.
It's proved positive by the fact you got a young guy from Villanova beating out a guy from Florida, the University of Florida. I mean, explain that. You move up to get this guy only to get him beat out by with a 6th round draft pick.
Listen, I'm all for if you want to begin entertaining Trey White trades at this point, right? I'm all for it. If you want to say to yourself, okay, my plan is Trey White costs too much for what he's producing or not producing, right? Maybe let me look at trading him, getting him off the books, getting him out of here. And that makes Elam my number 1 now. And Benford.
Does it?
Huh?
Does it?
Well, here's what I'm saying.
Okay.
His draft status has to make him at least a number 2 pick, right? For the money, the number 2 corner. For the money they're paying this kid, it's a waste of time and energy and money for him to get beat out by a 6th round pick.
And what was Dane Jackson? 7th round?
Yes.
So he's getting beat up by a 6th and 7th rounder right now because Dane Jackson is the scribbled in starter. So what I'm hearing.
What?
Yes, Dane Jackson is scribbled in starter. So yeah, it's ugly. It's really ugly. So it's a mismanagement there, and that goes into one of the topics I had when we went to really talking to position battles in terms of would start with cornerback if you want to.
I mean, we
Dane
might as
Jackson,
well. We already touched on
Dane Jackson, Christian Benford, and Kyer Elam. Okay, you're looking at. I just don't get it. I mean. I don't get it. I'm just going to say
person is not going to get that.
Dane Jackson is like the equivalent of 3'9". That's what I'm going to call him from here. 3'9", because I don't want to say the name. I don't want you to just like freeze up on me. That is what I see him to be. Good enough.
Wait, why do you say 3'9"?
Because I'm not going to. You're not going to bait me to say. Everybody at home knows what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Yes, I'm not saying it, but Dane Jackson to me is the equivalent of that. He's not he's a new age one because look at it. They don't want him to get beat out. They're bringing in competition for the guy every year, which he wins. So he has to hang his hat on. Hey, I beat out a number 1 draft pick. Not in any other team besides Buffalo. Nowhere else besides here.
You know what the Bills have figured out?
What?
The Bills figured out that the fans. And when I say fans, I mean the fanatics. I mean Bills Mafia. Like the people
Literal
who
sense,
are just they cannot think anything negative about the team at all. Like I've talked to random people that you try to be you try to give them the real story and they still want to try and give you an optimistic spin on it. Okay. I mean, if that's really how you want to look at it, fine. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. We've now entered into a space where the Bills have figured out, hey, we don't have to really win. We have to be competitive and make it feel good the entire time. Yep. If we can give these fans feel good stories about underdogs, people just like them, making a team and trying their hardest, guess what? They'll come every single Sunday to watch these guys try to win. And when they fail, we'll get them next week, guys. Right. Don't worry about it. Bills Mafia all the way. Like it's like there's no there's no I don't have a better word. There's just no objectivity when it comes to the fans of this team. And the Bills know it now. The Bills know it, and they're capitalizing on that. It's capitalism. Right. I
mean, it's always preconceived. It's like a song and dance every year. It's a song and dance.
Right.
And I used to buy into it. I used to like looking at position of competition and things like that, but they don't exist. They just don't. There's another example we'll talk about later, but I just wanted to exhaust the cornerback competition because for me that's the rawest. If you think about moving up to get Kyer Elam, drafting Christian Benford, and Benford beat out, Elam last year in the beginning of the season because he started the first game. Had he not gotten hurt, what would have happened? Was his injury the gateway to Kyer Elam getting the number 2 spot? I mean, in terms of playing time, I think we had Elam started 6 games and Benford started 5, but Benford broke his hand as well. Whereas you look at, Dane Jackson, he started 14 games last year. They're going to say Dane Jackson, he performed well when Trey White was down as the number one cornerback, blah, blah, blah. We're comfortable with the guy. We brought him back.
What standards? What standards are they basing this off of?
There none that we observe.
None that we observe.
So I don't know. But if you look, it's happening all over the team. It's happening all over the team. I'll break character here. We'll go right to the linebackers for a moment. I don't know if you noticed, but Dorian Williams, he's not even in competition for middle linebacker anymore.
Right. They moved him to the weak side.
They moved him to the weak side behind Matt Milano.
Yep. Just
a minute ago, everybody thought he was a starter.
Right.
Now, who are we talking about now?
Terrell freaking Bernard.
Who started yesterday, though? Balin Spector was a starter. The whole practice. Balin Spector was a starter the whole practice. Jordan Poyer raved about it. McDermott raved about it. They said he did excellent. They said he was smart. He made plays. If you look at any podcast, I watched them just to make sure I was getting, because I like Balin. I think from what I saw, he's not as good in coverage as Bernard and Williams, but he's a better run defender. He's a better blitzer. He is more the prototypical middle linebacker, if that's what you wanted to have, which we don't even know if they want to have anymore.
Right.
Just a smart guy, instinctive. What limits him is his physical stature. He's got short arms. He's not that tall. He's pretty fast, but
he's 6'2".
He's 6'2"?
He's 6'2".
Okay. That's all right. But you look at sidebar. Another sidebar. Terrell Bernard. I'm listening to, I forget what show I was listening to yesterday, but they were talking about how big he is.
He's 6 feet tall.
Dude, can we stop saying people are big? Can we just stop? Can we just stop this? Because this is
listen, he may be big to them.
I need to see these people. I need to see what they look like, because I just want to stop. These guys are not, like we talked about last week, there are a couple that are. But these guys, everybody is so big. Everybody, stop. I'm going on tangents here. Today is going to be my tangent day. I can see it. It's brewing.
Listen.
It's brewing.
We need to bring some pepper to the table with all that salt. Man.
And this isn't even salt. This is just reality. What it is, I was listening to McDermott's press conference, and I got a few notes from, I don't know if you listened to it. He gives you nothing. So it was like a snoozer. Yeah. The only one that I enjoy less is Dorsey's, because he never says anything. He dances around everything. it's just vague, and it's just a waste of my time.
You know why?
Why is that?
Because he don't know what the heck he doing.
Right.
He don't know what he doing.
He doesn't know.
He is a figurehead, so that they can give who's the guy we've been talking about that's basically designing the offense? What's his name? What is
Joe Brady?
No, the senior offensive assistant.
Shermer?
No, it's not Shermer. Shula, Mike Shula. That's who it is. Mike Shula.
I know it's gonna get on like the 5th or 6th try.
Yeah, but yeah, when you're a figurehead, so that Mike Shula can basically be your de facto offensive coordinator.
Right.
What is Dorsey really going to say? Like he right now he's got a position that he didn't earn, right. A position that he really, according to his resume, doesn't deserve.
Right.
Right. He got it because it's Josh's boy, basically.
Josh's boy. Yeah.
It's Josh's boy.
Yeah.
The same reason Matt Barkley is on this team. The same reason Kyle Allen is on this team.
And he knows how to sit down and shut up when he has to.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's no threat to McDermott.
Why you bothering asking that guy any questions at this point? Like, who cares what he's got to say? Go ask Mike Shula if you really want to know something.
Yeah. I like to listen to them all just to see what they say, and obviously Bean is the one that gives you the most. But McDermott, I'm just so tired. I was tired of when he says these cliches. I wrote them down from memory. Who doesn't work extremely hard? Everybody work. If you listen to him talk about it, anytime you mention somebody, this guy, he works extremely hard and he loves the game. Who doesn't? I'm so tired. What's in the DNA? What is this DNA he speaks of? How do you get it?
It's the fabric of their character. It's what they're made of.
What is this DNA? How do you get some of this DNA? I want a shirt made that says DNA.
No, I don't want any of that DNA. That DNA can't
it.
win an AFC championship. That DNA can't win a divisional playoff game.
But it's good for something.
No,
Maybe this DNA will work in my job. I don't know, but I need some of this DNA.
Listen, there's a lot of people in this city that are happy with 13 wins. I am not one of them.
No.
I'm not.
Unless that
I'll take 9 and 7 if it means I get to go to Giants route and beat an undefeated Patriots team.
That's what I'm going to say. If it's a Super Bowl, I'll take it. But when talked about Kyer Elam, he said he loves the game. He loves to compete. He has that DNA that way. But what okay, this is what got me. This is what got me. I don't know. It was subtle. Anybody at home that listens to that I ask you to go back and tell me. I wish this was live. I wish this was a live show right now because I want to know what people think of when because he muttered that way at the end of that sentence. He just had the DNA.
We'll make it a poll. We'll make it a poll. I usually try and put polls up on Spotify.
But,
so we'll
okay. So he has the DNA. But you're talking about a guy who you drafted in the number one position in whatever draft it was, 2021 or 2022, and he can't make the number one cornerback spot, which he should be right now. Or number 2 because we have Trey White. When asked about it, they say he loves the game. He loves to compete. He has the DNA that way. So what way doesn't he have it that keeps him off the field?
Right.
And that's why that way part, and I don't know if you guys notice, sometimes I pick up on little things in press conferences that I blow out of proportion, but why did you say it, Mr. Meticulous? Mm-hmm. And the way he didn't say it like boldly. It was like he just wanted to say, and then move on to the next sentence.
Right.
So what does he have to do? Why doesn't he have the full support of his team like other people? Like Josh, when Josh was throwing more interceptions and fumbling all the time.
Yep.
Like Devin Singletary, who fumbled more than anybody in the league.
Yep.
Why does this guy that you moved up in the draft pick to not get the support? You said he's a studier. You said all he does is write in that notebook. He works.
Yep.
Give him something. Give him something. Help the kid. But instead, you want to go ahead and you want to pay Trey White. And I'm sure you want to try to find another cornerback in free agency that you can start over him. Cam Dantzler, cut today. They picked up, or yesterday, was it Kyron Brown?
Yep.
An undrafted free agent in 2019 from Akron. The University of Akron. And this is what I'm saying. Dantzler, didn't he go to Iowa or something like that? Or I don't even know. Honestly, I don't make me lie. That was Greg Maven. Never mind. But the thing is, when you bring in these people, what pedigree are they coming from?
Right.
I go to every UB game. If I don't know Kyron Brown, that's a problem. Because I can tell you, I remember Byron Leftwich. I remember Ben Roethlisberger. I remember Julian Edelman. I remember these players. I don't know Kyron Brown.
Wow.
And when you're bringing these kind of players from these schools, I need to know you. I should have heard, oh, snap, they got, Antonio Brown. I remember him. I knew watching Khalil Mack. I knew watching them on the field. They were going to be something, even at a lower level school. Why? What is it with this guy? This guy likes getting these low level people because they fit the culture, and you can say, no, sir, you're going to sit. You're not going to play. You're going to be behind somebody. I don't even know who they are yet, but you're not starting. I can tell you that right now. And they'll say, yes, sir. Somebody from Nick Saban does not know how to internalize that. Somebody from a winning culture does not know, if I'm being beat out, he better be a Pro Bowler.
Right.
And that's the mentality that these guys have that flourish and win. They have egos. They're cocky. And we don't have enough of that. We got good players. We got guys who care about everybody. We got guys who have foundations and charities and stuff like that. And it bleeds over onto the field. You're not trying to rip anybody's head off. You're not trying to get the competitive edge. You're trying to play an honest football game that you can't win.
Right.
So if that makes me salty, man, I am Epsom today.
Epsom.
I am a full tub of it. Full arthritic.
Gosh.
But the thing, it just doesn't make sense to me. You brought in Dorian Williams. You brought in Terrell Bernard. You brought in Balin Spector. And you still got Tyrell Dodson. So you got 3 draft picks that might not even play behind a guy that you already had that never got in the field. Pro Football Reference, Pro Football Focus had him ranked. He was like a number 48. He was a 48 overall was his rating. Mm-hmm. And that's the guy that's in competition to be a starter. That's a no, sir. He's been here long enough. That's a no. You've seen all you need to see from this guy. No, sir. And until we have defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, position coaches say, no, sir, no more, will we still see a 13-4 in an early exit? And that's why I'm all over my words. I'm passionate about it. I got myself into a place I didn't want to go, but right now it bleeds true. When we keep doing the same thing that we've been doing, we're not going to get any better.
Yep.
We're just going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing to get to the same place we get every year, and watch other teams that were not even in the competition when we started pass us and win.
Yeah.
When we first got to the playoffs, the Bengals, what was their record even when we got there the first time with Tyrod? I mean, obviously we knew we were but they weren't that team.
No, they were terrible.
They were terrible.
Yeah.
Kansas City used to be terrible. The Patriots used to be terrible. This is the culture. We love the Bills, but we keep getting passed on by Philadelphia. They weren't at.
Philadelphia was they were coming off the year. They were coming off of the 26-2 year that Carson Wentz had, and that was the year after the 26-2 is when Carson Wentz, I think, is when he got hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And then after that, they were bad. Carson Wentz wasn't the same, and I think that was the year the Bills made the playoffs.
And McDermott was the coach. So McDermott was the coach when they made the playoffs.
No, the year they won the Super Bowl was the year that the.
No, I was going to say, they made the playoffs.
Yep.
They went to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Became bad.
And got good again.
Back to the Super Bowl.
Right. They fired their head coach. They fired their head coach. They fired Doug Peterson. Got fired. They bring in Nick Sirianni.
And
3 years later, went back to a Super Bowl.
They went back, and we're still happy about 13-4. We're still competing with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Dude, do you see the point I'm trying to make?
Yeah. It's bad.
This is it's never ending. The suffering is ridiculous.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think? Actually, hold on a second. I want to see something real quick. So let me ask you this: do you think that Trey White is a top 10 corner in the league
right now?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. In his prime, did you think he was a top 10 corner in the league?
In his prime, he may have been in the top 10. He may have been, and that's debatable. I could be wrong about. What do you think?
Okay. How much do you think he's making this year?
17 or something like that. Was it 17 million?
16.
Yeah.
Now,
so I know where this exercise is going. I'm going to let you run it because I know, and you're talking dollars now. So my head's going to explode any moment now.
So let me see.
Yeah. So I mean, we can.
I'm trying to see what Marlon Humphrey's number is. So
his cap number?
Yeah. Okay, so his cap number this year is $19.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right? $19.5 million. And here Trey White is making 16.
Right.
I mean, $3 million separation, you would think there should be, not too big of a difference from. Ooh, I like this list. That's
what I was going for. Yeah. So I'm looking for Mr. White. Trey White's.
Taron Johnson is up there ahead.
Yeah, Taron Johnson's number 40. Wow, do I have to go to another page?
You got to go to a whole nother page to find Trey White.
Let's do this. Let's go Control F. This is sad because this proves your point.
Yep. So, hey. I mean, the point should be obvious by now. Like, Trey White is not worth the money 81. That you're paying him. 81?
81. He's right above. Look who's next to him.
These are rated. Yeah, this PFF ratings.
Yeah, look who's next to him.
What? Oh, wow. Wow. Yo.
Mr. Dane Jackson.
Dane Jackson is 83, right behind Tre'Davious White. Yep. Right behind Trey White. Now, see, that's what makes this tough. Is that a good look for Dane Jackson, or is that bad on Trey White?
Look at this. Now explain this to me.
Wow.
How is Kyer Elam ranked 58th, and he can't even be his number 2 cornerback on his team?
Wait, where's Christian Benford? Cameron Dantzler is – hold on. Cameron Dantzler is 65. They cut him.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. So you said who are we looking for? Benford?
Yeah, Christian Benford. Where's Benford at? If he's even on
96.
96.
So they're all in the same. So Kyer Elam, by the metrics, is the best cornerback not named Taron Johnson that we have.
Oh yeah, Taron Johnson. Right.
I mean, obviously, Pro Football Focus is not the football Bible, but
Cam Dantzler was 6'2", 100. And
yeah, he's big.
Why? What?
Wait, I gotta do it. You ready?
This man did not just point out Levi Wallace on the screen, who happens to be PFF has Levi Wallace rated ahead of Tre'Davious White. Listen, if that don't say it right there, that we need to just get rid of Trey White, like his cap number doesn't allow it this year. It's a $26 million dead cap hit. But
and you know what? And people are gonna say PFF sucks and is stupid. But look at the top five. We'll go and let's just say Sauce Gardner's number 1, Pat Surtain number 2, Jalen Ramsey's number 3, Duke Shelley. Honestly, I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
Isaiah Rodgers, Travarius Ward, Tyson Campbell, Jair Alexander, and Stephon Gilmore, Isaiah Oliver. These are let's see. Yeah, these are by stat the most productive cornerbacks in 2022. So the top 3 in himself, that tells you Jalen Ramsey, Pat Surtain, and Sauce Gardner. This list does have some kind of merit to it.
No doubt.
But yeah, so Cam Dantzler, who, to be fair, I think they cut him because he was injured again, so his availability was an issue. Kyer Elam, 58th. I think Taron Johnson was Johnson number 40. So
ahead of Trayvon Diggs.
Ahead of Marcus Peters.
Yo, this is crazy. Like, who's in their analytics department that's telling them
these are good moves?
These are good moves.
At the very least, if your rookie cornerback appears this high on a list of his peers, at least give him a shot to just throw up on himself on the field.
Right, past the injury.
Yeah.
Like, so what? He's hurt. All right, he's still a better guy than the other guys.
Right.
I can't believe this.
Yeah, so I mean that's where we are with this thing. And these are the decisions that we make and we wonder why we can't get over the hump. So when you talk about McDermott, Mr. Fit versus talent, no, it doesn't work.
Fit is an emotional perspective.
It's subjective.
Well, it's not just subjective, but I mean, like think about what fits what a fit entails, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm building a team surrounded around the idea of I want to run a West Coast offense, but I want to do it in a way that's never been done before, mm-hmm. right? We have a chance to run a West Coast offense with the fastest players the league has ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Dolphins, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, yeah. If I go into this and I say to myself, okay, the fits are you need a certain level of speed. The fits are you need a certain level of ability to execute the offense the way that it needs to be executed in a West Coast offense, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. None of that says you can't be on the team if you don't get along with the other wide receiver.
Right.
None of that says you can't be on the team if you don't like going to, parties with the offensive line.
Right.
Like, if I'm building my team surrounded around a specific idea that we are going to execute this type of offense or execute this type of defense, nothing else should really matter because I need your skill set. I am paying you for your services, right? Let's be clear. This is the NFL. Teams are paying players for their services. Right. These players are independent contractors.
Yep.
They're part of a union. Mm-hmm. Okay? So if I'm paying a guy for his services, I don't need him to be a great guy. That's an added bonus if he is. Mm-hmm. What I need from him is performance, right. Productivity.
Right.
Right? So you got a guy who says, nah, I don't need. He's snubbing his nose at that idea. I'm gonna go get guys to come in here and sing Kumbaya and hold hands and be best friends all day long. And will we win some games? Yeah, we'll win some games in a poorly led AFC where nobody has any quarterbacks. But oh wait, now everybody has a quarterback in the AFC. Everybody's leaving the NFC and coming over to the AFC because there's better teams over here and they want to win.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So where does that leave me now? Well, now I'm not in the top tier anymore. But I still want to worry about whether or not a guy is going to fit in well in the locker room versus what he can produce on the field.
Right. And there's levels to it. I mean, we're not saying when you make that statement, I want to be clear, when you make that statement, fitting in the locker room doesn't mean that you have to be a cancer. But you could be that guy that's just quiet. You could be that guy that just wants to work. You could be the guy that doesn't party. What if you're a devout Christian and I don't do what they do. I'm not saying anything illegal. I don't party. I don't go to clubs. I don't listen to that music, whatever. I just want to sit in my room and read my Bible. Am I not a team player because I don't want to be around them 24/7 doing what they do?
Right.
I mean, that's what you got to ask yourself. Is that supposed to make that much of a difference? And in this locker room and this organization, it almost seems like it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we gotta. Okay. So
what?
Let's just go to linebackers. Let's go to linebackers. This is gonna drive me nuts. I can't believe we're at a position with this team now where the more research we do, even going into the 2023 season, the more we're revealing that this head coach who is in charge of everything seems to not know what the heck he's doing in terms of how to build a team.
Right.
And that's the guy making the decisions. Let's be clear. It's not Brandon Beane. If it was Brandon Beane, we probably would have seen some different moves being made because we've already done the research to show some of the moves that have been made when he was part of the scouting team and part of the decision-making process in Carolina. It was very different, right? So we have a Sean McDermott creation here in Buffalo now. And really, I think if we're being realistic about where the success has come from, it's being in a division that got really bad really fast. Right? Because let's be honest, the 3 years of great success that we've had were the 3 years after Tom Brady left. And while the other three teams in the league, in the division, had little to no quarterback play. Right. So you're guaranteeing your team 6 wins right off the bat.
Yeah. Yep.
Even if you split, 5 wins.
One series, you still win 5-1.
Right. Now, if that's the case, in order to be in a great position to solidify a playoff seed, I only need to win 5 more games?
That's it.
4 more games?
Yep.
I could easily find 10 games if I know I got 5 or 6 guaranteed.
I mean, if you win your division, you're in. So it's not even that in the series. That's why
all you got to do is
that's
just
why
win
we
your
saw
division.
those teams going 7-9 in the NFC and making the playoffs because they're winning their divisions.
Right. So never mind the 13-3 because if we're talking about last year was a whole buttload of injuries.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the year before, the year that they, the 13 seconds year.
Okay.
That year should have been a very tough schedule. Right. But it was a year full of a bunch of injuries on a bunch of key injuries on other teams that gave us the advantage going into those games. Right. That was a year for the Bills where, uncharacteristically, they had Trey White was the only injury that they got late in the season.
Right.
That was the only one. Everybody else was healthy the whole season.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, we were really healthy.
Right.
Until you see what happened. And I don't even want to pirate you because you were making a good point, but I'm thinking about it in my head. What did we always laud ourselves on before last year?
Availability.
The training staff, the avoidance of injury.
Yep.
As soon as we have any kind of normal adversity, we fall apart.
Right.
No, I mean, the Damar Hamlin thing aside, I'm not including that. Don't misconstrue. I'm not being insensitive. But outside of that, the injuries happen. The snow happened. This is not the first team to have to be moved because of snow in Buffalo. This isn't the first time, and it won't be the last. Mm-hmm. So why are we making these excuses now? You're playing football. 2022 was a football season. It wasn't, we're healthier than you. We lost to the Dolphins because they survived the heat. We couldn't, which is fine. Could I? Probably not. I'm not built for it. But the thing is, when you have a team that laws himself on being superior because of their training staff, their facilities, this, that, and the third, the availability, when it's not there, what happens? And that's what you saw last year. Josh Allen's throwing deep balls. We're not running offense because he's hurt. He's still scrambling because he knows it's all we got.
Right.
It's ludicrous to me that people don't see it. They don't think about that. And that's the kind of stuff, like you said earlier. I don't need to prove this stuff to you. It's right there for you. It's for general consumption. Just click on the mouse. You don't have to pick up a newspaper. Just type in what you want to know, and it's there.
I got to make a correction. Balin Spector is not 6'2". He's 6 foot, 233 pounds.
That's what I thought. And when you said 6, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So him and Dodson, and they're the same height.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Everybody.
Bernard's like 6'1".
AJ Klein is 6 foot. So every linebacker we have is 6 foot, and they are roughly 233 to 240 pounds.
Yeah, between 225 and 240. That's not a linebacker to me. That's like a big safe. That's like a Cam Chancellor.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Matt Milano, 6 foot, 223. Like, these are safeties.
Yeah. And most of them played safety. And Milano was a safety at Boston College. Terrell Bernard was a slash safety at Baylor. I think they said that Dorian Williams was something before he was a linebacker. I think he was a safety as well.
Probably.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure that can work out for you if you have the defensive line to keep them clean. And that goes back to my point again. Keep the boys clean and let them do what they did to get to this place. Don't expect them to do something they can't. Balin Spector, out of all of them, is probably the only one that I would feel confident allowing him to be touched by the offensive line.
Yeah.
Because he's shown the ability to be tenacious enough to keep his head in the gap and read the run play. Right. He's shown it. Now, like I said before, his Achilles heel is going to be pass coverage, which he wasn't horrible at, but he's not as good as Milano. He's not Tremaine Edmonds.
If you're playing a nickel defense, the focus is pass defense.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that's kind of bothered me about this nickel defense to begin with is, if you're not going to put the proper defensive linemen in there in a position to be what they need to be at Oliver, mm-hmm. Then you need to, like, the only way that this system works without putting two one techs in the middle is if you have a stalwart, all pro level, Luke Kuechly, Brian Urlacher, 100%. Like those guys that can do it all. Mm-hmm. You need one of those guys in the middle of that defense to make something like that, be fine.
Yeah, and that's one of those where you would be happy having a Jerry Hughes as opposed to a Von Miller and put that money into your stalwart linebacker because that's you get productivity. Mario Addison, we saw it. You got productivity out of these guys. Yep. And you could have kept them both for less than you got Von Miller for. But, I don't know if I'm sure Hughes didn't want to go. I'm sure. Just for the fact that he was here so long through so many contracts and he was our longest tenure. Yeah. So I'm sure he wasn't kicking and screaming to leave. Right. Whatever happened, they thought they could move on. They whatever. But the point is, like we said before, identity. You knew this was a defense you wanted to run. You know how to do it, we think. So why didn't you do it? Right. The guys that you drafted were not the fits for this position. Right. You're drafting a bunch of Matt Milano backups when you just re-signed them. But
the other thing too is they're not picking these guys based on what they can do, what they can't. Okay. I could see someone saying, well, they have to be picking them for what they can do because they're football players. They scout these guys. They have to have an idea of what they can do. Mm-hmm. I get that. Mm-hmm. But and I agree with it. Yep. As I've said before, I don't think that is the priority in why these guys get brought in particular.
I agree with that too.
Leonard Floyd, I think he's a fit because he's played with Von Miller, and Von Miller vouches for the guy, and you're not going to have to pay Floyd a whole lot of money. I think that's why he fits in particular. Mm-hmm. And I also think that's part of the reason why he was signed as late as he was.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if that was a guy that Sean McDermott was going after, he would have been signed as quickly as Deontay Hardy was signed.
Yep.
Okay? So, looking at all of these guys on this defensive depth chart and even the offensive depth chart, but we're not there yet. Mm-hmm. These are not all guys that you would look at and say, man, this guy would be a starter on another team.
Right.
Or this guy, if we let him go today, somebody's scooping him up and then starting him. Mm-hmm. Right? And what does that speak to? That speaks to your mindset of guys have to be a fit first. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care what the analytics say about the way you play. Do you fit my locker room?
Right.
If you fit my locker room, then you can be on my team.
Right.
Like it's more so like, if my friends like you, then we can be friends. That's exactly what it is. As long as my friends like you, then you can hang out with us.
It is. Yep. And
we'll pay you a little bit of money along the way. Mm-hmm. Like, not only has this team benefited from, playing easy schedules and having an easy division, right, but they've kind of won in spite of who they are.
Yeah.
I don't want a team like that.
And that's the problem. See, we were good when we were flying under the radar.
Right.
But when the bright lights came on and it was Buffalo's time, we cowered.
Right.
Well, I don't say coward, but we kind of did.
The only time we ever played big like we should have is when we beat San Francisco. I think it was Monday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we played San Francisco and Josh Allen just played lights out, like we spanked them, mm-hmm, and that's when they still had the Jets head coach as their defensive coordinator. We spanked them. There's nothing they could do to stop him. Even the defensive coordinators, there's nothing we could do.
Like Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh. So I don't want a team like that. A team like that gets into the playoffs and struggles mightily.
And we saw that. Yep.
We've been seeing that every single year that they've made the playoffs.
Every year.
They struggle mightily against teams because they got a bunch of try-hard guys. Meanwhile, these other teams that are making the playoffs, they're making the playoffs because the way that they're trying to rebuild their team, they got maybe one or two superstars that are making enormous plays, and the other guys are trying to keep up with the superstars, and they're winning that way. Yeah. Meanwhile, everybody's looking at the Bills roster like, oh, these guys are stacked. Stacked how?
I don't know.
The Bills are stacked. They should win 13 games. Okay, we'll see. Because it looks like the Bills are getting lucky again. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's going to be gone until December, which means, this rookie the Dolphins drafted, we're going to see him early. Right? And then Joe Burrow, injures his knee. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. So I'm tired of benefiting from things other than my team just being so dominant.
Yeah.
I want the killer bees. I want that offense. Like, their defense wasn't even really that great that year.
Right.
But they were the freaking killer bees. Like, they gave the Patriots fits. Mm-hmm. Like, I want the Chiefs offense. I want the Bengals offense.
Right.
Like, I don't even need my defense to be that great. Give me one, like, aside from Chris Jones, who's the other superstar on the Chiefs defense?
And that's what I was getting at when we were talking about them getting paid. Yeah, there's I can't name another player on the defense really.
Right.
But that's enough because this guy,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Exactly.
That's the point. It's enough because you got an offense the way that you have.
Yeah.
The same thing for the Bengals. The Bengals, listen,
and
both of these teams,
they know it. I'm saying they know it. They'll tell you that. They're not going to ignore it. They're not going to deny it. They know exactly what you just said.
Exactly.
We beat you with a bad defense.
Exactly. And when you look at, and I guess this is maybe a feather in both of those teams' caps, but their defensive coordinators are amazing.
Yeah.
The ability that they've had to take, young players, put them into that system, and get the production that they've gotten out of those defenses, it speaks to the coordinator's ability to put them in the right position to stop whoever they're playing against, or make decent plays against whoever they're playing against, enough to give, their dominant offense the ability to pull away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't understand how, if this is a copycat league that we're in, the Bills have a head coach who's saying, "No, I want to do things my way.
Yeah.
I don't care about what offense. Why?
Yeah. I don't
nickel
get it.
defense.
I don't get it.
Nickel defense. That's what I want to do. 4-3. Why?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, other teams are like, yo, it's not cost effective for us to have 3 corners that we got to pay, large amounts of money to.
Yeah.
It's just not cost effective. And on top of that, if we aren't going to draft well in our linebacker room, maybe we shouldn't play just 2 corners. Maybe we should have a little bit of help with that 3rd linebacker in there. Maybe invest some money into that spot because we're getting killed in the run. Like,
yeah.
These things are easy things to figure out, but instead we have it keeps coming back to the word arrogant. I mean, look,
that's the only word you really can and should use.
Right. Like, do I respect Sean McDermott and his leadership in terms of being able to settle a team and being able to be the example that you will want for a young player coming into the league? Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't say anything I'm saying to disrespect Sean McDermott, but I'm trying to make clear that someone that everyone likes isn't doing the job well enough to deserve more time in the position.
Yeah.
And it's not an unfortunate situation for him, because frankly, he's the guy making all the decisions, and those decisions are not good.
Right.
So
furthermore, in his press conference yesterday,
yeah.
when regards to, he said my favorite word, identity. I perked up. I thought I was going to get something. I forgot it was McDermott speaking. But what he did say was, we want to run and stop the run.
Yeah.
He said, so that goes hand in hand with what you said. You're so backwards. You're in the old school. You want to run and stop the run. Nobody does that anymore except for Tennessee. And do you want to be Tennessee? So thinking about it, did we run well last year? Yes, we did. We ran extremely well. Did we? I mean, if you would have had a large sample size, it probably wouldn't have been as great. But when you talk about stopping the run, they were horrible at it.
Right.
Horrible at stopping the run. I mean, you're looking at a bottom quarter, a bottom 5th team in stopping the run. So how do you play defense against teams that when it's a bad weather game, like the Baltimore game, when they said that the playoff game where they said it was supposed to be a snow squall. Now, when you look at a team when they're playing against a team of Lamar Jackson's status, when you're looking at a team with Jalen Hurts, a team where the quarterback can run, where they got running backs, you shouldn't look at a team and say the Bills can't hang with them. Mm-hmm. And the biggest fear when we played Baltimore was that it was going to be a snowstorm we couldn't throw in, because our run game against their run game just was not going to work.
Right. It
wasn't going to happen. And I think, I don't remember what the number was at that point in time or what the line was, but I think with the snow involved, it really became an even matchup, which shouldn't have been, because if you know anything about Baltimore did not have they didn't have receivers. They didn't have a passing game.
Right. They haven't for a while.
Right. So why should I be afraid when I got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and all these other guys of a team that can't throw the ball in a throwing league, other than the fact that I know we can't stop the run? And I was expecting them to go ham on us. The Taron Johnson interception, that pick 6, that was beautiful because Lamar shouldn't have thrown. But what if they couldn't throw? Would that have been the same outcome? Would we have this podcast sitting here talking about McDermott? Would he still be here? It would, and it's you can't look at it in a vacuum. But when you take somebody for their words value and you say run and stop the run, you better be dang good at both of them.
Right.
You better be excellent at them. And you're parading, Devin Singletary and James Cook and Zach Moss, and they're getting 8, 9, 10 rushes a game. Josh Allen's your leading rusher. You're really, on paper, you have a good run game. But if Josh Allen goes down, you have nothing. You have nothing because they stack that box.
Yep.
8, 9 defenders.
And you don't, like, that's the thing, too, is it's not even like you can, Josh is down, we got to lean on our run game. What run game?
Exactly. The worst thing that could happen to this team is Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs going down.
Right.
And luckily, to this point, neither one of them really has. So
I can't live my life that way, though.
You shouldn't. Why should you want to? And that's the point that we're trying to make here. You shouldn't have to live your life that way. No other team is. They have something. It might not be as good as their top weapon, but it's going to be something they can sustain themselves on.
Right.
When you're thinking about, like you said, when you're thinking about other teams getting better here, what did we do to compensate for it?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. We didn't do anything to compensate for just being a run-heavy conference now. It's a run-heavy conference. Let Dalvin Cook come in this conference.
He's saying that the likelihood of him signing with the Jets are very high.
Yes. Yeah.
So
look out.
I think he's supposed to be in New York, today and tomorrow?
We'll see if he leaves.
I don't think he's gonna leave, man. I think
he leaves.
For all the reasons I named when we did the show about them, I think he's a perfect fit there. I think they're gonna get him signed. They got the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They have a reason to do it, and he wants to get paid. He also wants to win. And you're going to a team that, when you want to talk about stacked, they got 2 of the top 10 corners on their team.
Yeah.
In DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. They have CJ Mosley, who's the best linebacker on that team. They have pass rushers. They got a defensive line that is so
they got
nasty.
They got a line.
Like they have everything that you would want in a team,
right.
And then you add a running back like, Dalvin Cook to that, and you still have Breece Hall, who won't have to do it all this year coming off of his ACL. Like, it's the perfect position. It's the perfect place to be for him right now.
Mm-hmm.
But we gotta start closing this thing up. It's just I want to try to get away from everything being so doom and gloom, because it can be frustrating at times, and I know we're not doing this show to kind of bring about that atmosphere, every single time we sit down here, but man, who else is gonna voice these opinions and put these things out into the world to try and hopefully get someone in the organization to do something about it.
Yeah, I think when we start to get away from, like, next week when we talk about offense, I do want to take the preseason pledge though before we really get into raving about Dalton Kincaid and all the things that we've heard. I mean, people are talking about Kincaid already. Like, this guy is just a revelation.
Look at what he's doing against soft coverage and no pads.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one clip where I don't even know how to explain it. There was a coach standing in the middle of the end zone with his hands up, and I think the objective is for Josh to like put it in a bucket to get in the red zone, throw it in under over coverage into the hands of the receiver. But they're like, oh, Kincaid moves something. It's okay, he moves smooth, but what are you gonna do when he's playing against these high level linebackers? Somebody jams him at the line,
or when somebody pops him hard enough after his first catch.
Yeah, and that's
because they're gonna test him.
They're gonna definitely test him, and I'm not saying that he won't do it, because as you know, Dalton Kincaid was my number one. He was the one guy I had to have in his draft class.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was high on Dalton Kincaid, but I don't want to put him in that position, and then you end up with Kyer Elam syndrome.
Right.
Where
Dawson Knox is still our starter.
Yeah, he's our starter, but then you got Jay Sternberger,
right,
who the coaches love.
Right.
And he's got experience. Dude, I don't want to play this game with another number one draft pick.
Right.
And also before we wrap it up, I forgot to talk about N'Keal Harry. He was in for a workout.
Here?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. 6'4", 230.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he actually could probably be a tight end. And that's kind of what made me think about it. Size, he doesn't have the best hands, but the strength, he had 30 on the bench, I think 27, 30 on the bench. For a wide receiver, that's nothing to sneeze at. Yeah. So if they can make, I mean, that's the thing though. Dawson Knox, when he came, people wanted to write him off. He can't catch. He's this. He's that. He's inconsistent. He turned into a pretty good tight end.
Yeah.
So maybe N'Keal Harry could come here and become like Tyree Jackson or like what's the guy from Virginia Tech we had, the quarterback.
Dog it. I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yep, I know.
Virginia Tech quarterback.
He's in Washington, isn't he?
Washington, yep. Let me see if he's still there while you're there.
I think he is. I'm pretty sure
it won't hurt me to try.
He had a knee injury or like some real bad injury last year.
Okay.
But
because he actually became somebody. Let's see. Was he there last year for sure?
Yeah, he was there last year.
Let's do that then. Be safe.
No.
Let's try this here.
You got to go back to the Commanders.
Right here. Yeah.
So we're just looking through right now, trying to find the guy we're talking about. Not there either, huh?
Where's it? Okay, so let's do this. He was there at some point in life. What was his name? It's killing me now. Now it's really killing me.
Oh, maybe we don't need to find it.
Yeah, now it's just like it's officially like
we gonna end the show. We gonna be like, damn,
I'm gonna put it in the comments. Because he's a quarterback. Wait, I gotta do this. Kill timeline. I'm gonna like strike myself down.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, some of the other. I was looking at where was I? So I was just looking through some of the other news that's available. Funny enough, Hunter Renfrow of the Raiders said, "I'm hoping last year was a fluke." Yeah, I think it was not a fluke, and I think you're gonna find out this year that it's a Josh McDaniels thing.
Logan Thomas.
Okay,
I feel better now.
You feel better now?
I feel better now. I have this calmness that came over my body when I saw it.
Okay.
But yeah, no. He said what now? He said
I'm hoping last year was a fluke in terms of how bad they were. You know what? Josh McDaniels strikes me as a Sean McDermott type of head coach where,
yeah.
I have this system that I know can work, and if you don't buy into it 100%, then you're not a believer, and you need to go. You don't fit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. He's another guy that I think would be better off in college.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually interested to see what those two guys, and Josh McDaniels probably won't end up going back to college and probably be able to go right back to Belichick if he wants. But I would love to see what Sean McDermott can do in college. I think what he's done with the Bills would work great in college.
Yeah.
It would work great in college.
He really successful too.
Yeah,
really successful. Maturing men. Bringing them up, honing them, teaching them the right way.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Like that's the perfect mentality. That's the perfect approach. Like I don't care if you're a 5-star recruit. If I got this guy that's coming up off the street and he's working harder than you and he's putting forth the effort and he's making plays, right. I'm gonna put him in the game and I'm gonna sit your 5-star behind down. Like okay, cool. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the boosters would the alumni they would love having a guy like that building a system like that in at their school. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's cut out for the NFL, man. I really don't. I think when you're talking about the millions of dollars that are being spent and the way that that he's spending it and all that, it's just it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
It's tough. It really is tough. Because on one hand, he's not a guy that you hate. I don't hate him at all. But on the other hand, it's like you can kind of see his ceiling.
Yeah.
We've seen it already. You know, you might look into Super Bowl, but I bet you any amount of money it'll be on the heels of something crazy happening elsewhere. You know, injuries or, you know, some kind of weird call or something that comes about that puts us over the top.
Right.
And I don't want to win that way because it's not sustainable.
Right. 6 minutes left. Have we seen Josh's cap yet?
Who's that?
Have we seen Josh's cap yet? Have we seen his ceiling? Have we seen the best of Josh?
You know what? I don't think you've seen it. I don't think you've seen his ceiling potential. Will he reach it? I don't know. I don't think he will. Okay. But I know you got something. I want to hear your thoughts on it, though.
I was curious to see what you thought about it. I just kind of thought about it after you were talking about Sean McDermott's, you know, him reaching his you know, potential or his, you know, best positioning in terms of performance. I don't know, man. I think when I look at what happened against the Chiefs, I think to myself, man, like with the team that he had, what other than what Mahomes did, what quarterback in the league do you think could have done better than that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, just the circumstances that he was in, being in Kansas City, being in a divisional playoff game, which for all, you know, for all the hype that it got and what everybody was putting into that game in terms of, you know, storylines and press and you know, even the bets and all that kind of stuff, that was essentially the Super Bowl that year. You know what I'm saying? And for Josh to come in and persevere through the weaknesses of his team, and he like that's a game where you can point to and say he willed that team.
Yeah. And that's kind of and I think that's kind of where I'm going, because I think he actually could be better. Not that he played. I just think sky's the limit. I mean, he's got all the talent in the world, and I don't think that we've seen the best of Josh Allen, and that's kind of why I answered that way. You're right. He willed the team to where they got. He willed them to do what they did for the majority of the seasons that they've had. Last year was largely on his shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, so you're 100% right. And
but as a quarterback, though, too, I think you can only go as far as what you have around you. And if you don't have a head coach who knows how to do that, if you don't have, you know, a GM that's in position to make those decisions to do that, if you have an owner who is not a football guy, I think that may have been the peak for Josh. Yeah. If we're really looking at their ability to get back to that, along with the growth of all the other teams in the AFC, the rise of all the quarterbacks in the AFC. I mean, I don't remember who it was that said this, but I mean, essentially, it looks like the door is closing on the Bills.
Yeah, it's been said by numerous people, so you can't really pinpoint one person. A lot of people have said it. Nick Young said it. I think Chris Broussard said it. I think Stephen A. said it. So, you know, they don't say we're trash. They don't say we're going to be bottom feeders, but it's closing.
Right.
The book is out. I mean, you can't show somebody everything you got for too long before they figure it out.
Exactly. And, you know, what's being done to change that? I think that's one of the things that is, you know, on a more positive note, something to look forward to, you know, this year is, you know, Sean McDermott's taking over. You know, what's the defense going to look like? The changes in offensive scheme. What are those things going to look like? And you know, it'll be something to, you know, just kind of hang your hat on as, you know, holding out hope. You know, maybe these changes that they're making, moving to the, you know, the 2 tight end system or the 1.5 tight end system, whatever you want to call it.
I never heard that before.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll throw in some optimism and you know, look forward to that as the season comes on.
I think next week will be more of an optimism, because you can't get much better than being a number 5 ranked defense at one point in time, and number 1 defense. There's a lot of room for critique, especially when you don't fix the run stuff, and there's things that you can see and you don't fix it. There's a lot of room for critique, but when you have a unit that underperformed like we did last year. There's a lot of things Trent Sherfields. We can even go in Deontay Hardy's and get excited about things like that. Obviously Dalton Kincaid, and I think next week will be a fun show to do.
Yeah.
Just because, it's offensive minded and it's high flying and it's something that we're hopeful will put us where we want to be. Not just next year, but for years to come.
Right. All right. Well, that's it for today's show. Of course, like, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. T-shirts are still available. Free digs or throwing the damn ball. Let us know if you want those. All you got to do is hit us up in the comments, and we'll let you know how you can get them. Right now, they're going for, we said, what, 45 is what we're getting them out for? Mm-hmm. $45. That's actually a pretty good deal. But let us know if you want it. We'll get it to you. We're going to start getting into some fantasy stuff, I would say, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Not next week, but the week after that. Right. I don't think we need to do a whole show on special teams.
No. I thought we were just doing offense and defense.
That's what I'm saying. We don't need to do the whole show. No. Tyler Bass, good enough.
Yeah. We've talked way too much about players that play special teams right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for for supporting. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for all the love that y'all been showing so far. To all our subscribers, we greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get better every week. We're trying to do this thing at the biggest stage possible. But with that said, of course, at the Post Podium Podcast, we are all truth, no sodium. I'm your co-host Aramis.
It's Keyshawn.
And we will see y'all later.